Welcome, welcome, welcome. Hi, everyone. Listen, this is another episode of the Government Coins podcast. I am super excited today. We have another amazing professional in the procurement space, actually operating out of the city of Danbury, Connecticut. So I'm super excited to get into the process of doing business with Danbury. But before we do that, Chick, welcome to the podcast.
Well, thank you. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Our first question is always tell us about yourself. We would love to learn a little bit more about the
All
world
right.
of.
Well, you probably want to know my real name is Charles. So Chick is my nickname. Okay. So,
Oh,
um, yeah, like I was telling you before we went live, I'm born and raised in Danbury, lived here my whole life. Um, uh, Worked for the city. This is my 38th year at the city of Danbury. Before that, I was 1 year at a company by name of Amphenol. That was a corporation. And then for 3 years before that, I worked for the Perkin-Elmer Corporation in the government division here on the Space Telescope, which was really pretty cool. And that was when I got in purchasing both places, right out of school. And it was quite an experience, to tell you the truth. So, but no, I've been here at City of Danbury for 38 years. I just made some notes. If people don't know anything about Danbury, I'll tell you a little bit, maybe promote the city a little bit. So we are located in the western part of the state. We're right on the New York border. We are the seventh largest city in the state with population approximately 86,000. We are listed as the ninth most diverse city in the country among cities and towns, populations of 100,000 or less. And we have one of the lowest crime and unemployment rates in the state. So that's a little bit about Danbury. We have for a city that's less than 100,000. We have a hospital here, very good hospital. We have a university, Western Connecticut State University. We have a junior college here, Naugatuck Valley Junior College. We have one of the best malls in New England here. We have a little airport. We have one of the top public golf courses in the country. We have a beautiful lake, Candlewood Lake, open to the public, and we are also home to a number of corporate headquarters. So for a little city under 100,000, we offer a lot.
that is absolutely crazy. So Danbury has a lot going on
Yes.
overall. And
Yes.
I think that is one of the pieces that I was calling it Danbury. So it's Danbury.
Well, I guess it depends. Yeah, I say Danbury, and I'm born and raised here, so I think that's
There we
probably
go.
good.
You know what? You would know. Leave it that way. Okay, so in your position with the city, what is the role and what does that entail?
Okay, so we're centralized purchasing. So we buy all the goods and services for all the city departments and agencies, except for the Board of Ed. The Board of Ed does their own thing, unless sometimes there's bond money involved. And if there's a construction type project, it would come through our office. So central location. So we have an electronic ERP system. We're currently using a system by the name of New World. We're in the process of moving over to another system by name of Munis. So all our work comes in electronically. All the different departments, it all starts with a requisition. So when they have a requirement, whether it's for goods or services, a requisition is submitted. We actually have a very small department, believe it or not. It's just myself, it's an assistant, and we have an administrative uh, person in our office. So it's a department of three. We issue somewhere between 4 to 5,000 orders a year. And last year I took a look, we did a little over $80 million in purchase orders. So it's a busy department. And we're exceptionally busy right now. As I was telling you before we went live, is if you heard of this American Rescue Plan Act, ARPA, federal money that the government put out during COVID. It was really meant to be a stimulus, keep things going. So Danbury got a fairly good share of that $38 million. But it was great. It's like Christmas for all the departments. And the only thing is they didn't act on it quickly. And now that the clock is ticking, and all that money has to be spent by this December. And that means either a purchase order issued or a contract executed. And all that money's coming through this little eye of a needle here in our department. So that's why if my mind is like this these days, because we're getting hit from all sides. And normally this is when you first reach out to me, I always tell anybody, if you want to, don't bother me between Memorial Day and Labor Day, because our fiscal year runs July to June. So usually after Memorial Day, we're closing out the fiscal year, and then July is the beginning. And then I said, you want something after Labor Day to Memorial Day? I'm good. But this has been above and beyond with this ARPA money flowing through here. So, but anyway, still that's the deal. So back to the work. So we get a requisition, and first thing we have to do, we have thresholds that we have to be mindful of. And so our thresholds, are actually looking at them now to increase them, because it's been a while, especially with inflation the last few years. But as it is right now, and that's the way we're operating, requisitions over $1,000 require that we get 3 prices. 10,000 is our sealed bid limit. Okay, so if there's a request that's 10,000 or more, that's our sealed bid limit. Now, the world we live in, and since and you probably, and your audience is probably aware of this, the big movement in government is cooperative purchasing. So our charter, the city code in the charter, allows us to piggyback on government awarded cooperative contracts and also state contracts. And I will say the state of Connecticut has been very proactive in that way. They pretty much make all their bids. It's a requirement that they successful bidder makes them available to cities and towns within the state. So we'll take a look at that. We'll also look at, we belong to a number of cooperatives. So we always take a look at those. The other thing that would not require a bid is if it's a bona fide sole source. So some things are sole sources. We have a form, we make people fill it out and sign it, put their name to it. And, they have to basically give reason why the sole source. And the other thing, of course, is emergencies. So emergencies do happen, usually if public safety or there's risk of damage, that type of thing. We have to act on that. So that's those are our threshold. $1,000 was where the competitive pricing kicks in. $10,000 sealed bid. So.
Then on top of the actual thresholds, when we talk about the actual procurement process, what does that look like with the city currently? I know you mentioned you are moving over to a different platform. What does it currently look like?
Yeah, so so what we'll do is we are required to advertise in a local paper. Okay, so when we have our bid prepared, we put an ad in the local paper, legal notice. We post it. So the city has a website. If you were to go to the city's website, which is Danbury-CT or -ct.org, .gov, I'm sorry, Danbury-CT.gov. There's a purchasing page there, and we do post our bids there. There's also a spot on our website where people can register to receive bid notices. There's no charge for that. And we also post the bid results there after we have openings. When people register to receive bid notices, we send out an email blast, and it's not by commodity now. So if somebody registers, they're going to get all our bids, even though they might not be interested in all of them, they're going to get them. And it's not where we inundate you. We do on average like 75 to 100 bids a year. So maybe 1 or 2 a week, So, and then, like I said, there's no charge for that. We are going to be moving over to a new platform probably in the next year. And from what I could see, that one there will be people will be able to register online, and they'll be able to kind of choose their commodities that they're interested in. So it'll be more focused. But right now, that's not the case. And then the other thing we do make use of is the state of Connecticut. They have a purchasing site, and we usually post our bids, certainly all the construction bids, on the state of Connecticut website. So I would encourage actually anybody that's listening, and that's interested, whether it's Connecticut or whatever area they're looking into, they should go to the area, cities and towns they want to do business with, the state or states they might want to do business with, and register on those websites. Usually there's no charge, and you'll get these notices, but it's a good way to know what's going on out there. Business comes to you. It's up to you whether you want to respond to it or not. But that's the way to get in the game. Now, just to let you know too, so we are still receiving our bids in paper. So we have them. We don't have uh, it's allowed in the state of Connecticut yet. We just don't have the platform for it. So the new system we're going to, which is probably about a year away, will allow us to do that. And I feel bad because we were going down that road a couple of years ago with another system, separate from the one we're running, because you can run it. There's a number of systems out there that run independent that are just bidding systems, and it was really nice. So we were ready to go, and the timing would have been perfect because it was just before COVID hit, and which forced us to do a lot of crazy things, to make the process work. But right now, we still do it the old-fashioned way. People have to have their bids into us. We actually have a formal opening, so we'll make an announcement that we have our bid openings here Tuesdays and Thursdays, 10 o'clock. We have a conference room. We make the announcement, 10 o'clock. No further bids are accepted, and people are welcome to attend. We open them up, read them aloud, and then we evaluate them after that. So
it's one of those processes where if a business is outside of Connecticut, they would have to mail the response in.
yeah, yep, exactly. Yep. A lot of people use FedEx, UPS, overnight. And the burden is on the vendor to make sure that the bid is here in time. So that 10 o'clock is a firm date. That'd be like that with any city or town or
Yeah,
government. There's a firm time on that.
absolutely.
And the burden is on the vendor to make sure that it is where it's supposed to be by that time.
And
So
then you mentioned the latest platform. Would you be able to update or upload? They'll be able to post those responses in the new platform that you'll be moving on.
yeah, they are really nice. These electronic platforms. I've seen them, and we were right there. We were
Yeah.
ready to pull the trigger. It was all set to go, and where it got hung up in our corporation council.
Ah,
There was some legal things. The company was out of Canada.
okay.
There was some hang up there, and bottom line, it didn't happen. And it's too bad because it was a really
Yeah.
nice system, and other cities and towns are using it. There's
Absolutely.
many of them, by the way. There's
Yeah,
many of them.
absolutely.
I've looked at them. They're really nice, and I probably people that are watching, they probably used them, and
Yeah,
it's certainly the way of the future. There's no question. So,
definitely.
and we'll be going there. It's some,
And we had some procurement professionals on the platform, I mean on the podcast as well, that have talked about like their transition to some of these different platforms. So
yeah,
you can definitely see, that new wave of the future kind of happening right
yep,
now. So it's
yep,
great to have those options available
yep.
as well. Okay. And then moving into our next conversation, you mentioned that there are a number of different departments that have opportunities that come through the actual purchasing office. How many departments are within the city?
Well, there's probably somewhere it's over 30. So
Oh,
somewhere a little over 30 departments. Um, so we're a busy department. So I mean we buy for all of City Hall, which that doesn't generate a lot of activity, but we buy Public Works, is very big. We have a highway department. We have our own water uh, plant here in Danbury. That in and of itself, they could probably use their own purchasing person. They're big, and it's a big operation. We have equipment maintenance, of course. We have a forestry department. We have a parks department. Uh, Police department, of course, fire department. I mean, police and fire are very busy, and the other thing, these departments now, it's not just city dollars. There are a lot of them are going out and getting grant money now, which is great for them, but it's a lot of work for us, So, and grant money has to be handled certain ways, and so we have to be careful with that. And it's sometimes, it's a learning experience for us too, So, but yeah, police, fire, public works, library is very. We have a public library, very busy. And it's funny because the city of Danbury, the city hall's on a 4-day work week, so we're closed on Fridays. And it sounds great, but for us, it doesn't really. Our department, it doesn't work well because everybody we support is working. Police, fire, public works, library. All our big customers are working. So it forces me really to pop in here for a little bit on Fridays just to make sure there's anything that might be time sensitive that I can help out with. So, but those are the big departments.
And so you're off, but not really off. Okay, that's what we're
I don't
going.
think I don't know in this world. I don't know if anybody's off anymore because, I mean, emails now. I mean, people are email. I mean, it used to be years ago when I started here. When you left and you came in the next day, you knew what was on your desk. Now, forget about it because even these requisitions come in electronically in that system. It's very unnerving, by the way. So I could be working on something, and we have like this electronic inbox and somebody can boop, they press one button and boop, 20 things will appear there. And it's like, whoa, and it kind of, you'll be on one thing and you'll see these other things there. And it's like, whoa, so, and I come in the morning, I never know what to expect anymore, you know? So I do
That's
try to
good.
keep
Keep
up.
you on your toes.
Yeah, keep me on my toes.
Oh, okay. And then we want to move to another topic that talks a little bit about what are some of the things that the city of Danbury actually purchases.
Well, I always say dog food to dump trucks. So, we have and I mean it too, because we have a canine division at the police department. So we have to buy something as small as dog food for them. And then we buy dump trucks and fire trucks. So, yeah, that's probably one of the cool things about purchasing too, is because I always say you're a jack of all trades, master of none, and you really cannot be a master because you will not get anything done, so you got to be a jack of all trades and then kind of move on. But yeah, every department has their own. I mean, certainly everybody buys off supplies, so there's certain things that are generic. But like the police department, police cars, ammunition. Because they have canine, even the dogs. They have to be groomed. Veterinarian services, fire department, fire trucks, the uniforms, very expensive, helmets, all kinds of safety gear, library books, of course, a lot of what do you call electronic media nowadays in that area. Public works, all kinds of equipment. You could think of dump trucks, all equipment for roads, backhoes, and of course all the maintenance of those. Water department, chemicals, very expensive commodity that we spend a lot of money on. The chemicals for the water department, treatment chemicals, paving, of course, is always a big expenditure for the highway department. Getting to the winter months, road salt, which we just awarded our treated road salt a few weeks ago, but that's a big expense. So yeah, it's pretty diverse. A lot of it, particular to the different departments. So
Yeah, that's a big deal. So everything from dog food,
the dump
which
trucks.
the dump trucks. We love that. We love that statement right there because it
That's right.
definitely does simplify it. Thinking about the K9 unit, that was just a
That's
big
right.
deal. So moving to our next question, and we're gonna definitely kind of keep this one a little bit more simple, to talk about any opportunities for training or support for small businesses that are looking to do business with the city.
Yeah. So, well, we don't have anything formal ourselves, but Connecticut does a lot. We actually belong. it's called the Public Purchasing Association of Connecticut, PPAC. And it's a great group. It's all the cities and towns purchasing. We support each other, via email. Anybody has a question, you can blast it out. They have their meetings. I think they're every month or two, but they do put on events, for different groups for training. They'll have uh, uh, vendor day. They'll have recently they had for small and minority businesses day. And the state of Connecticut too, they're pretty active with reaching out for training purposes. I always make myself available I'm very accessible to anybody that calls here. I'm always willing to help them out. If they make a call, I'll find time for them. I always say that. So and I love to help them, and I'm very pro business, pro small business. I love to see. We've had certain groups in town here ask me come to speak to their association, which I was happy to do. I just made a note. It's called the Connecticut Technical Procurement Assistance Center. Connecticut Technical Procurement Assistance Center, and their website, ctptac.org. I'm not putting in a plug for them, but they help businesses, small businesses. And they had asked me a few months ago to come on, and it's similar to what we're doing today. So there was they had a presentation, a day set like this, and I was happy to do it. And I see them out there in the community doing this because I see the emails, and so they're out there.
Hey, so definitely being able to have that bridge of different resources that even if, the city isn't doing it, they have resources and partners in place to actually also support businesses as well. So
Right.
that's a big deal.
Yeah.
And finally, this is our last question. Is there any parting wisdom that you may have for any small businesses who are listening to this episode right now?
Yeah, well, I mean, if you're looking for government, like I said, that there's no cost, just your time. You have to reach out. Well, first of all, I mean, you go to the websites. You're gonna find a spot. You're gonna find that procurement page. You'll probably learn how to do business. They might have some information there. You certainly want to take advantage and register. I'm sure there's no cost anywhere to do that. And likewise with your state government, do the same thing. I would encourage people to reach out to the purchasing department. A lot of people don't do that, and they'll go rogue to the departments, and sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But if they come here, we'll guide them. I mean, if somebody comes and there's a certain commodity that they have or a service that they're offering, we could let them know, and I do this for certain because it helps us too. So I'll let them know. I'll give them the contact people. I'll give them the numbers. And I always tell people call. Don't just show up because that makes it difficult sometimes for people, even for us here. I always say call ahead. Let them know that usually if you go to see purchasing, you could tell them that you were at purchasing and they told us to come to call you and make an appointment. So I mean, to me, that's important. Yeah, municipal government purchasing is wide open. So there's a lot of opportunity there. You have to work. And I'll tell you the other thing, be responsive. Be responsive. If you get a request, respond to it. You would be surprised how many people that do not respond. And I say it tongue in cheek, but I tell people I'm trying to give you the business in a good way. Not some people are giving people the business in a bad way. I'm trying to give them the business, but they don't respond, and it's amazing how I have to chase people. And sometimes, especially if it's a sole source, I don't have a choice, but if I do have a choice, do you think I'm going to deal with somebody that's not responsive? I mean, who would want to do that? So be responsive. Very important. Very important.
I like that piece. And one thing you mentioned is you'd be shocked to know how many people actually don't respond to these opportunities. And I think that's such a big deal because we see them and we see, oh, maybe it's so many people are going to respond. I don't know if we're ready or something to that effect. Yeah.
Well, you know the old saying, right? You can lead a horse to water, but you can't make it drink. And that's what happens. I mean, right now, I mean, if they're listening, if they haven't, they should go on websites. Oh, I'm going to give you one other one we use, which is a good one. GovSpend.
Stuff.
GovSpend. I don't know if you've heard of that or not.
Mm-hmm.
We have a subscription to it. It costs
Okay.
us like $3,000 or $4,000 a year, but they have a nice platform, and we use it from time to time.
Mhm.
But it's a great site for businesses because what it does is we put a requirement out there. It's by commodity, and it'll blast this out, and it'll allow us to say, how many responses do you want, and which is nice for me to see. We get responses from all over the place, and they're
Absolutely.
all small businesses.
Mhm.
So it's pretty cool. But govspend.com. So that's a good website. I don't think it costs anything for a vendor. I don't believe it would. We have to pay for a subscription, but I would encourage people at least go take a look at it.
Okay.
Take a look at it
I
because
just
it's
dropped that link in the chat. GovSpan. I think I've seen that one before, and it's basically you get quotes. Those are mostly for quotes,
well,
correct?
100%. That's what you want. If you're in business, you want those quotes coming to you. And again, it's what you decide to do with them, you know?
All right. Yeah, thank you so much for that. And listen, if you are listening to this podcast, Chick just gave you the information on how to do business with the city of Danbury. And also knowing that they have funds right now that they are trying to get rid of. So it's
Well,
her
hopefully, yeah. Hopefully,
hopefully.
most of those funds are spoken for now. They
Oh,
have to go through a process to our council and get allocated, and so they're all earmarked. Uh,
okay. So listen,
but there's still going to be opportunity.
still opportunities available. So definitely reach out. Please make sure you like this episode and share it with any businesses that need access to this information. Chick, thank you so much for joining us
Hey,
and
my
sharing
pleasure.
information. We really appreciate you.
Well, thank you for inviting me. Appreciate it.
Absolutely. All right. I'll see y'all in the next episode. Peace.
All right. Bye bye, Shki.